All right. All praise, glory, and honors most certainly due to the Most High Elohim of the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I want to say peace to each and every one of you in the name of His Son, Yehoshua HaMashiach. So it's a blessing each and every single time that I can come before you to bring a message contained in His Word, and never do I count it as a light thing to do so. Today's message is rooted in a fundamental question that I believe every human being should ask themselves. And that question is there a God? Now, for some, it is apparent that there is a God, and for others, it is not so apparent. And then you have the agnostics who say they can never know, and you have those who totally deny the existence of a creator. The reason this question is important, it is vital. It is imperative that you answer this question because this will determine how you live your life. You have the notion, if there is no God, then how do you truly have objective morality? How do you state that you have to do something, or that something can be entirely wrong? Or how do you're not living as if you are going to be judged if you're saying there is no God? That's why even Pascal's wager is, if you ever look that up, it's like you should live as if there is a God. And because if there isn't one, you haven't lost anything. But we know that there is a God, and there's a very simple way to prove this. So I want to go through the text here. Some would say, well, how do you use the Bible to prove this? Well, the Bible, quite frankly, is a wisdom book. It is philosophical in nature. And it is the truth. I would say it is not a pursuit of truth. It is a truth with a capital T. Okay. And it is the word of the creator, of the Most High. So I want to pick it up though in Psalm the 14th division of Psalms. And I just want to read this verse here. It says, the fool, in verse 1, it says, the fool have said in his heart, there is no God. All right. It says they are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none that doeth good. So now, the fool, when he says there is no God, you are denying the obvious. You are denying that which has been manifested unto man. Okay. And because you're saying there is no God, now your works can be only corrupt because you have removed in your own mind. You can't literally do it, but you remove the law or the moral lawgiver. Okay, so you have no standard of morality if there is no God. But now, so that's what man has said. And see, what man will do, let's go to Romans 1. He will either deny the existence of God or come up with his own God. This is Romans chapter 1. And we'll pick it up at let's pick it up at verse 18. It says, for the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. So all of mankind holds or possesses a particular truth, and they hold that truth in unrighteousness. What is it? It says, verse 19, because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has showed it unto them. Then he says, for the invisible things from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made. So what was made? In Genesis 1:1, it says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. See, the earth itself it manifests the existence of God. So it says, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made. Then he goes on to say, even his power, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. So even his Godhead has been manifested unto man. Okay, you read in John 1:1, it says, in the beginning, God created, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. You have the Father and the Son. These are the ones that are having a conversation in Genesis, the very sheep that Moses writes down. That was shown unto him where it says, let us make man in our image after our likeness. That's the Father dealing with the Son, and he created all things through his Son. But he says, again, I'm going to read verse 20. It says, for the invisible things of him at the top, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made. Okay, so what was made again? In the beginning, God created heaven and the earth. He said, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Okay, Then it goes on to say, because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, now they were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Then it goes on to talk about how they started to make idols. So they started to personify certain principles in nature and make their own gods, these idols. And then when you do that, now you're engaged in all type of debauchery. He talked about homosexuality and so forth, because your wickedness is, it grows because you have nobody to answer to, so you think. But clearly he exists. Let's go to Psalms the 19th division and see what is told to us. See, this book is largely philosophical. We haven't gotten into who that one is specifically. I mean, I've stated it, alluded to it, but you can know who he is simply by the creation. Okay, which is like a cosmological argument, right? He says in verse 1 of the 19th division of Psalms, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. So the heavens is a declaration. What is it declaring unto us? It declares that he exists. That's what it declares. It says, day unto day utter his speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech, no language where that voice is not heard. No matter where you're at on the planet, you can understand that there is a God. It doesn't matter what language you speak, because we all see the heavens, right? And if you can't see, you can hear the birds, right? And if you can't hear, you can feel the trees, or your conscience of your own existence. That's how clearly, you know, when you look at the creation of mankind, mankind didn't just come out of from some lower being. It didn't come out, we didn't come out of primordial soup, right? So, you know, there's no proof of that. But when you see like the creation of man, the fact that he brought man into his consciousness, that actually, not only does he know that now he's a conscious being, but he also knows that he did not create himself. And he understands, as he corresponds with the Lord, that he is the one that created him, and thus in by default in creating him, now you know the order of things. You know that God, or Elohim, is above all man. So it says, day unto day utter his speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech, no language where their voice is not heard. Their line is gone out throughout all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun. What is the them referring to? That's talking about the heavens. Which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race. His going forth is from the end of the heaven, and his circuit unto the ends of it. That's talking about the orbit of the sun. Then it says, and there is nothing here from the heat thereof. It touches upon every place. It may be cold in certain places and hotter in others, but the sun eventually reaches those places on this earth. And man has, all of mankind, since, you know, the earliest times of man, has witnessed that and understands the principle of regeneration and life, that kind of masculine principle of the sun, and therefore they have personified the sun and worshiped the sun, but they have denied, in worshiping the sun, they have denied the one who put the sun out there. They have denied the ones that made the heavens as a tabernacle for the sun. But then it says something else. So once you understand that there is a God, your natural next progression is, what does he require of me? I know one is sovereign. What does he require of me? That's why the next verse says, the law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. The statutes of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes. The fear of the Lord is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, yea, than much fine gold, sweeter also than honey and the honeycomb. Moreover, by them is thy servant warned, and in keeping of them there is great reward. So understand that that is the next logical step. The next logical step is, what does he require of me? So once you know he exists, you know he exists through the myriality of the creation. But now, who is it? See, philosophy can only get you so far. Let's go to Acts, the 17th chapter. Acts, the 17th chapter. Here, Paul is dealing with these at Athens, and then they don't know who God is. They just know there is one. And so he says here, it says here in Acts of the Apostles, chapter 17 and verse 22. Then Paul stood in the midst of Mars Hill and said, Ye men of Athens, I perceive that in all things ye are too superstitious. For as I passed by and beheld your devotions, I found an altar with this inscription, to the unknown God. So they knew it was a God, but they didn't know who it was. It says, Whom therefore ye ignorantly worship, and him declare unto you. See, he said, I have to tell you who it is. It says, God that made the world and all things therein, saying that he is Lord of heaven and earth, dwelleth not in temples made with hands, neither is worship with man's hands as though he needed anything, seeing he giveth to all life and breath and all things, and hath made of one blood all nations of men for to dwell on all the face of the earth. So he's the source of life. He made all man, right? And we are all, we try to act like, largely because of racism and just ignorance, we act like we are different species. We are all mankind, okay? And like any other species, we have male and female. Even today, we have it as if women are a different species from men. It's nonsense. We are all one species. But nevertheless, it says that they should they should seek the Lord. See, now this is key. Like I said, what's your next logical step once you find out that the Lord exists? You need to find out what he requires of you. Okay, that's why, hold your finger here. We're going to come right back here. In Revelation, that's why it says this in Revelation. He says in Revelation, the 3rd chapter, he says in verse 20, Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to him and will sup with him and he with me. See, you have the desire to know, and you see examples of that in the book. You see the Ethiopian eunuch who wanted to know. You see Cornelius who wanted to know the Lord. The Lord will manifest himself unto you, but you have to have the humility to want that. See, so now going back to Acts the 17th chapter, and peace to you, brother Micaiah. It says in verse 27, Acts 17 and 27, it says that they should seek the Lord if haply they might feel after him and find him, though he be not far from every one of us. See, everybody can know him. It doesn't matter your nationality. Then it said, for in him we live and move and have our being, as certain also of your own poets have said, for we are also his offspring. See, they understood that there was a God. They understood that we are even his offspring. If you read in Genesis, he said everything after his own kind. Then it said, let us make man in our image after our likeness. Right? So then it says here, I'm going to skip down a little bit. It says, I'll start at verse 29. It says, for as much then as we are the offspring of God, we ought not to think that the Godhead is like unto gold or silver, stone, graven by art and man's devices. So he's talking about the Godhead again. Then he said, in the times of this ignorance, God winked at, but now commanded all men everywhere to repent. So you need to know who God is, because it's time to repent. As is written in Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God should bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Let's pick it up at Isaiah. See, so how do you know who God is? Just how do you know? So we know there is a God. The creation tells us this. But how do you know who it is? Well, that's a question that everybody should be asking. Is it Krishna? Is it Vishnu? Is it somebody else? Well, no. Let's look at this. Let's go to the book of Isaiah. And in the book of Isaiah, we'll read something here that should provide us insight into who he is. Okay. This is Isaiah, and we'll pick it up in Isaiah. And let's see here. Isaiah 50. Give me 1 second here. Because once you find out, or once you consider and understand that there is a God, you need to know who he is. Okay. And this right here lets us know who he is. This is Isaiah, the 46th chapter, and we'll pick it up at verse 9. Isaiah 46 and verse 9. It says, remember the former things of old, for I am God and there is none else. I am God and there is none like me. Okay, so now he's saying who he is, right? But how do you know? Verse 10, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. This is how you know. You know there's a God from the creation, but who is it? This is the only book you read telling you the end from the beginning. The Quran does not do that. With the Quran with its hadiths does not do that. The Hindu writings don't do that. The obscure writings of Nostradamus don't do that. There's no writings out of Chinese philosophy that do this. Nothing else does this but the word. I mean, literally calling people by name before they come into existence. The gospel is told unto us in the book of Genesis. Christ and what he would do is all throughout the Psalms. This is you can, and then you can read the writings of Daniel and you see the prophecies. This is over and over and over again throughout the entirety of the book, which would lead us to one conclusion. It's time to repent because this is the truth. This is the truth. And with that, brothers and sisters, I want to remind you that we are at the House of Faith, meet every Sabbath at 5925 West 25th Avenue in Gary, Indiana at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. We live stream right here on the Israel Teach YouTube channel. And we also meet Virginia. Our Virginia congregation meets every Sabbath at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at 153 Garrisonville Road, Stafford, Virginia, at the Rare Roof Inn. That's every Sabbath at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And with that, brothers and sisters, it's always